Welcome, Realm Walkers. I am your host and the Realmwright of this podcast, Kirk Comet, and I'm also the author of the Dragon Harvest universe. And in today's episode, we're going to be getting a behind the scenes look, honestly, an opening of my sort of spell book, if you will, as to the project that I'm currently working on, how I'm getting through it, what I'm going to be working towards, and what my goals are for it, and honestly, how we got there from very little to all the way to a second book and the progress there within. So with that, let's dive in. First, how did I get the idea for this series? Uh, honestly, it started one step at a time. If you've listened to previous episodes of this podcast, you probably heard me say that I'm an explorer at heart. I like to, even in video games, I'll play Diablo, and certainly there is a method to being a good Diablo character, to playing well, to getting really far. And I've learned that over time, but it took me longer to learn it than it would, say, some of my friends that I play with, because they researched it. They read article after article after article. I just wanted to throw myself in there, make the mistakes, have fun, and just kind of learn as I go, discover things. And so that's true in my writing as well. When I first started Demon and Witch, I wasn't aiming to write a book. I was aiming to write. I just enjoy the process of fantasy writing. I like creating stories. I like reading those stories to my wife. And the story just kept getting bigger and growing more. And I knew this was something that I wanted to do. I hadn't taken the leap with myself. I hadn't really taken that jump and said, like, no, this is something you can do. It really was an act of love to say, like, I'm going to do this for myself. And then, hopefully I can bless others with it. And so that's what got me into writing this as a book and dreaming of it as something that I could be doing the kind of way that I'm doing it. And so that was sweet. The second book comes naturally as a result of that. I love writing fantasy. I think that this book went really well, not only in the writing process, but in meeting some of the metrics I wanted to hit for a first book. It was sweet. I think it's something I want to continue doing, and so I'm just following up on that. And so Necromancer is the second book. Now, Necromancer exists in part because the first book's plot, if you haven't read it, that's okay. But Phoebe and Scott are thrown into a fantasy universe, and they believe that they're playing kind of characters, that they are embodying avatars, and that they're helping people there. But come to find out, there's a a bad bend to certain things going on in the kingdom. They're not playing avatars. I'm trying not to spoil things too much. They're just them, and they can very much die in this realm. There's a battle that ensues, and they think that that's the end of the conflict, but the entity that they're working with is just much too large to go down after one fight, and they haven't realized it. It's first-person perspective, and so if you read through this book, you're going to see a win at the end. That's pretty cool. But you're going to also think, if you're reading with them, maybe you'll buy what they believe, which is like, yeah, cool, we solved it, we're done, which is far from true. In fact, all they've done is just marked themselves. That's not all they've done. They saved lives. They made a difference. But they have put a mark on their backs. And as they return to our world, the question remains, are these worlds distinct from each other? Can we be free in that kind of way? Or are things starting to bleed together because of what's happened, because of lines that have been crossed? How is the dynamic of Earth changing? What other doors might there be? Spoilers, kind of spoilers, mostly spoilers over here. Still not going to say more about that. But anyways, it's led me to where we're at narratively. Demon and Witch have significance to myself just because of things that my wife and I have walked through, names that we've been called at points for our love of fantasy. And actually, Necromancer fits right along that as well. And so I'm excited to kind of just continue to build that. In addition, there are magic systems, which we got to see on display in Demon and Witch, and I'm excited to flesh those out more, and also explain and express to you guys how they're bigger through the story, because we got only to touch a little bit of it. We got to see it in action a little bit. We haven't gotten to see the depths of it, or really the study of it in any kind of, I think, meaningful way, and so that'll be fun. There are more creatures and lore and cultures that haven't been touched, and as those cultures collide into Earths or interact with Earth people. It'll be fun to see how that plays out. And ultimately, of course, the book is called Necromancer. There's a necromancer out and about. Where does he come from? What does he mean? How does he play into the previous story? If you've read this book, then you probably have some thoughts, and I would encourage you to just continue to explore those. It's pretty sweet. We will be taking Phoebe and Scott back in to the story. They're still going to be the main characters. Obviously, we have some new villains in play and some old villains in play as the world continues to expand out. We'll see more of Beringer. We'll see more of Samson. Those are exciting characters who I love writing and just getting to interact with. And so we'll see more of those. In terms of meanings, this story really came to me at a point where I had a very Captain America mentality growing up, and really thought that I could make a positive difference for everyone. And I think I didn't understand that it wasn't possible to always be good to everyone. Let me explain what I mean. I do think you should be good to people. But for example, if person A is getting beat up by person B, in order to be good to person A, it sometimes requires that you set aside the wants of person B, the needs of person B, because they're hurting person A. And so I guess I in my heart I've been a pacifist, not philosophically, but in practice I've just tried so hard to be good to everybody, and there have been moments in my life where I've had to come to terms with I can't. If someone's going to be bad to my friend or my wife or just someone who doesn't deserve it, if I'm going to do good, I have to be willing to say we're done here. And that's definitely a journey that Scott and Phoebe go on in this book, is trying to navigate, well, if I can't be good to anyone, can I be good to anyone? Can I be good for her? Can he be good for me? And how can we be good for each other in a world that's just so much bigger and so much more broken than either of them imagined? In the next book, I think there's going to be a reclaiming of that theme, a growth of that theme, and a recognition that martyrdom and heroism are not necessarily the same thing. And just really almost exploring, and I think you'll see this in this book. A friend said this to me once, I think he's right. He said, in wartime, there's no decision that you can make that doesn't hurt someone. And I think that that's true. I think as you read this first book, what you'll be struck with is a character did right, but they may have done wrong too. There's a lot of moral dilemma, I guess I'll say. And I think life is actually very full of those kinds of things. How do I balance doing well here while also honoring my responsibilities here? How do I, right? You want to do a great job at your work and a great job at home, and those can be in tension. It creates a dilemma and all sorts of things like that. Interacting with different family groups, all of those sorts of things. Same thing with these stories. I love exploring the moral dilemmas. Is it always wrong to lie? And I'm putting them at least before you. We don't get into the nitty gritty of those philosophical debates, but we do explore them as characters who live in a broken world. And so you'll see that in Necromancer as well. Is when is it right to honor rules and when is it right to break them? And then I'm really enjoying writing this story. It's pushing me as I just grow and think on my own. Wow, what do I think about this? It helps shape me as a person as I walk with these characters and just work through things. Yeah, whether they make the right decision or the wrong one. And then honestly, I really do enjoy the magic of the worlds I'm building. And I have a much bigger plan in the future for Earth to be the main ground in which all sorts of magical things are happening. And to do that in a way that still honors hard magic, but doesn't force me into having to constantly retcon myself if I want to do something different. So portal doors are a sweet venue for that. In terms of progress, I have about 13,000 words on my laptop. I have 34,000 words, which I've actually at this point discarded in addition to that, but I might return to some of it and see kind of how pieces of it I think might interplay with this. My goal is just to keep pressing in, pressing on. Hopefully, have this out again, just like this book, by October of this year. Just gonna make sure it's right before we send it out. So that's always number one. I want to tell the story I want to tell, but that's the goal I am shooting for. Um, some of the tools that I use, some of the rituals that help me, a laptop that's not connected to anything but writing, right? So just your Word documents or Apple Pages, whatever you use. That's one of my favorites. Just distraction free. Let me write. Or I love these little pocket journals. This fits in my pocket in my jeans. Um, it's a guy privilege, I think, but I take it with me. Sometimes I will take it with me in place of my phone, and when there's a free moment, I will write thoughts or little scripts, whatever I need to just kind of help my story advance, and then lots of rereading my stories to make sure I'm on track with them. I think if I were going to share any craft lessons that I've learned from this, it's just to keep going. That's probably the biggest one. You have it in you. Um, if you're a person and you're living life, you know at least one story, your own, and that's my favorite story to pull from. It's just the ways I'm growing and being challenged, and I'm honestly amazed at how much that touches down into my writing in ways I did not think that it would. So, yes, keep yourself posted. I will keep you updated on Necromancer, and I will be giving away sneak peeks, updates, maybe a cover reveal at some point. That would be sweet. So make sure you've liked this video, that you've subscribed. Make sure you're part of this community so that you're getting regular updates and you're plugged into those kinds of things. Let me know how your writing journey is going. What book are you on? Is this your first book, your second one? Are you writing shorter stories? Are you trying to get published in magazines? I would love to hear all of that. So please let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.